Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Today's topic is going to be discussing lore versus cutscene storytelling. Okay, so there's been a bit of talk about, which is better, and if one basically means that you can get away with not putting in any kind of cutscene story at all and things like that, right? So for this example, I'll give like an example of two games that do it like differently, right? Okay, so we've got in one corner the Elder Scrolls, which has always been about environmental storytelling where you find it yourself, aka lore. And we've got things like Call of Duty that have always just been about cutscenes and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the two and my preference and my opinion on this. Okay, cutscene storytelling has been the usual original way to tell something. It's been a staple of, okay, I'll give you the plot, and now I'm going to show you a bit of cutscenes involving the characters of the said plot as they go through their tribulations and their goals on what the story is based around. Whilst environmental storytelling is less about cutscenes and things like that, and more about, hey, there's a story to be told here, but you need to do the digging. This freaking person in this environment of whatever kind of game it is may seem like a good person, but they're not, because you went into their house and discovered that they had some kind of mind control drink that they were giving people to do their bidding, and that's why everyone adores the person. Now, I'm going to go over the pros and cons of both. So, what do you get from traditional cutscene storytelling? For one, it's easy to understand and involves less speculation and just facts, so that you just say, okay, well, that's what the story is about because this is what the developers told me. While environmental storytelling is the opposite. It involves, what do you think? It involves speculation. It involves your research and how much you're willing to dig into the world, right? Now, in my opinion, I understand why a lot of people kind of get annoyed when they don't see that it's, the traditional story. It's become such a staple that people believe that that's what a game is supposed to be now. A game is supposed to have multiple cutscenes that, slowly feed you the basis of the story and the plot and the characters, and you learn about them that way and things like that, right? But I also understand where people come from with environmental storytelling, where they're saying, okay, look, we understand that that's what games were based around. However, we find it more enjoyable to discover the story for ourselves and to know about why all of this is going on in this said world and the events that occurred. But we know and learn due to our research and our knowledge of and it's mainly speculation, but it involves such amazing theories and discussion. Now, I'm going to tell you that I have a personal bias towards environmental storytelling. I love the Elder Scrolls games. I love Skyrim. I love Dark Souls. Series that it's mainly you discovering the story. I personally think is better, but I don't think that cutscene storytelling does not have a place, because if done properly, but not like overly, it can properly express what the character is feeling, their feelings of grief, rage, joy. It can if properly done, it can be good. Like the God of War 4, that was cutscene storytelling that was properly done. It was a mixture of both lore and cutscene storytelling. Now, I feel like cutscene storytelling has been a staple and that's all gamers want, but they're scared to have to do a bit of digging and speculation for themselves. Now, some are completely opposite and just love doing the digging, but I feel like we should have a bit of a mixture, because when we don't have one, other people get triggered, and if you have the other, then other people get triggered. So why not mix it to the point where we're feeding you a bit of story, but if you want to know more, you have to do the digging. Now, some people who are immature and don't appreciate other people's understanding are just like, well, people who want cutscene storytelling, they're just immature and they want to be spoon-fed the story through cutscenes and blah 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 blah. And people who are on the other side will argue, well, you don't really know the story, you just think you know when it's all speculation and all of that. So, either way, you don't win on either side. However, I will say that you have to understand that both sides have their pros and cons. I personally prefer environmental storytelling because it's really interesting to just do your own research and to discover like what these so-called good characters could be hiding and what they could be projecting compared to what their actual intentions are. But I do feel like cutscenes in, traditional storytelling do have a place, because that's what, the gaming genre usually was based on. You had cutscenes and characters, and as I said, they introduced a plot and blah 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 blah. But that doesn't mean that environmental storytelling is not a good change. As I have stated, I truly enjoy the Soul series and the Elder Scrolls series simply because they allow for they allow for a good environmental storytelling. It's really interesting to discover your own world for yourself and discover your own story. That's what I really enjoy. Now, what am I trying to get at? I want you to be open-minded. There is not one that's just downright better, and both are needed in my opinion, because certain games just don't work with environmental storytelling. Imagine if Call of Duty tried to have environmental storytelling. It just won't really work out. And whilst all games have little Easter eggs, I wouldn't say all games have actual lore, So, with that being said, I do think that environmental storytelling is going to be a bit more prevalent in future RPGs, but that does not mean that traditional storytelling is bad and should not be continued, if that makes sense. That was my thoughts on that. I do hope you enjoyed. Tell me what you feel in the comments below. How do you feel? Do you think that environmental storytelling is better or traditional storytelling is better? Or do you feel how I feel, and a mixture of both can be pretty good? That's all I had to say. Rate the video what you think it deserves. Tell me what you want to see in the future in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.